Hey, hello everyone, my name is Chris and welcome to another game review. Today I'm gonna be reviewing Metro Exodus, and as usual I'm quickly gonna go through the story of the game to tell you in short what the game is all about, and then I'm gonna move on and review rest of the game. And if you didn't play this game and if you don't wanna get the story spoiled for you, one big spoiler alert across the screen, and just click away from this video and come back later when you finish a game or something. But if you are interested in my opinions and thoughts about this game, then stay with me till the end of this video and let's get started. Alright, so Metro Exodus was released this year, and for those who maybe don't know what Metro Exodus is, it's my favorite story-oriented first-person post-apocalyptic shooter, and it's been developed by 4A Games. It's been made in 4A engine, and just like previous two Metro games, Metro 2033 and Metro Last Light, it's been made by books of a Russian writer, Dmitry Gluhovsky. I personally didn't read any of his books, but I heard that his Metro books are amazing. So if you love books, if you are into books, check out Metro books by Dmitry Gluhovsky. You're not gonna regret it. So what's the story of Metro Exodus? So just like in previous two Metro games, we are again put into boots of our famous hero, young hero Artyom, and this time he is on a mission to find life outside the metro station, outside of Moscow. He had a dream of living a life outside of Moscow and outside the metro, and one day he hears voice over a radio and he thinks it came somewhere outside of Moscow, somewhere in the outside world, and everybody tries to convince him that what he heard is not real and that he's going crazy, but he still sticks to that, what he heard, and he refuses to believe in what people say, because whoever was born in Metro in Moscow, they were taught since young age that there is no survivors anywhere else in the world. There is only Metro and survivors of Moscow and Metro station. But Artyom still refuses to believe in that, and one day he goes outside on a mission with his wife Anna, and they start to look for signs of outside life. At first they don't find anything, but soon after that they see a moving train, and that's where this whole adventure actually starts. They find people that are trapped by bandits, and those people tell them that there are actually other survivors outside of Moscow, that there are people outside of Moscow, and that there is life outside of Moscow and Metro. And at first Anna couldn't believe it either, because like I said, they were all taught since young age that there is nothing else than Metro and Moscow survivors. Soon after that happens, they discover that people who were actually in charge, even above Colonel Miller, which is actually Anna's father. Soon after that happens, they discover that Moscow's signal was actually jammed, and they couldn't contact the rest of the world. And Anna gets angry because her father, Colonel Miller, actually knew everything about that, and he didn't say anything to anyone, because even though there was nuclear war and the world's gone to shit, war is still not over. There are still countries who are in war, and there is a rumor that Russia was occupied by enemy forces, and after that happens, they actually have no chance of returning back to Metro, either Anna or Artyom or Colonel Miller or any of Spartans that were in that squad of people who discovered jammers and discovered the truth about Moscow and Metro. So if they actually now try to return at this point back to Metro, they will be shot on sight. So the only choice they have is actually go out and discover what's going on with the rest of the world, and that's where Colonel Miller says that there is actually one old bunker called Yamantau, where all leaders, world leaders, gather around and talk to each other that there is still hope to rebuild humanity, and that's actually where they are headed. They are headed for that bunker so he can talk to world leaders, and because he is leader of Moscow and Spartan unit, and now that whole squad of Artyom, his wife, Colonel Miller, and all other friends, there is a lot of other characters, they all start that adventure of fighting a life outside the metro, and they actually all see that there is life outside the metro, and they go on a mission to rebuild humanity. Now, down the road, a lot of things happen. Train that they are using to travel to that position breaks down, and then all bunch of stuff happens that are not really important for the story. They just make story longer, but they bring up new characters at those points. You meet new characters through the game, so yeah, they suffer from cold. They at one point visit the desert where they suffer from heat, and then they have to go and loot for supplies, find water, and you know that's all now a part of that big story that's actually put there to just make story more interesting. So I'm not gonna go really through all these details, but once they reach that old bunker, they believe it's like a point where all the world's leaders meet. It's actually not. It's one big lie. It's just a bunch of cannibals that were transmitting the fake news of people, actually world's leader meeting point, and it's actually not a world's leader meeting point. It's just basically some old bunker with bunch of cannibals that try to kill Artyom, his wife, and Colonel Miller, and everyone else, pretty much the whole squad. They eat people for survival, and after they escape that situation, a lot of other things happens down the road, and Anna gets sick. She gets radiation poisoning, and for the rest of the game, Artyom and Colonel Miller, actually Anna's father, and other guys are trying to find cure for Anna, and that's where story gets really emotional, and some other things happen. I'm not gonna spoil it completely, but yeah, that's pretty much the story of Metro Exodus. So it's not, in my opinion, really the best one in the series, but it's still very good story. You have a lot of things that are going on, and it's not really hard to catch up with the story. It's pretty simple, but like I said, when you get to that emotional part with emotional soundtracks and stuff, it just builds up the whole atmosphere of the story. And the characters you meet through the game also have their stories. It's just a story that has a bunch of other stories being built up on that main story. And I think the story is, like I said, not really the best one in the series, but it's also not bad. It was pretty enjoyable. I enjoyed it. It was cool, and I appreciated it for what it was. So in my opinion, it was, like I said, not the best story, but it was still pretty good. Alright, so since I'm done talking about Metro Exodus story, let's move on to, in my opinion, best part of this game, and that's gameplay. At first, it didn't seem like Metro changed a lot since 2033 and Last Light, but when you reach a bit further into game with Metro Exodus, you actually realize that this game has changed a lot. And when I say a lot, I really mean a lot. There is a ton of new features, and I'm gonna say that there is absolutely none of these features that I dislike. I love every single new feature they put into game. Some of those new features are mini open worlds, so through the game you go through all 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. So the game's story progresses through all 4 seasons, and every season has its like little part where something happens in the story, and you have to stop that train that you are traveling with, and then you get off that train, and you have a bunch of objectives you have to complete to get the train moving again, because something happened obviously to it and it's not able to move. And what's interesting about those 4 seasons that happen through the game is that, like I said, every season has something to offer. There are 3 different maps through those 4 seasons, and when I say maps, it's like a little open world. You know, this is still a linear game. It's not an open world game, but there are those 3 parts when this game feels like an open world game, and you're just free to do whatever you want around that wasteland. You can go and explore it. You can find bandit outposts where you can find people that are trapped by those bandits, and then if you kill those bandits and release people, you'll get a moral point, and if you collect enough of these moral points through the game, you'll get a good ending. And of course, if you, for example, kill targets that are surrendering, yeah, just like in other Metro games, in Metro Exodus, your enemies, if they are overrun, will surrender, and if you knock them out, nothing will happen. You're not gonna lose any of moral points, but if you kill them, you will lose a moral point for that. And it does make a lot of sense, because Artrium is a good guy and he's trying to be a good guy. So the gameplay changed a lot just by that little open world. There is so many things to do in that little open world. Like I said, you go around, you scavenge stuff. They added inventory system, and you collect materials, cleaning materials, scrap. You can upgrade your weapons, you can customize attachments, so you can loot around and find guns with attachments on them, and you can dismantle those attachments and put them on the gun that you're currently using. And your gun can also get dirty if you shoot a lot with it. If you, for example, fall into dirty water or something, your weapons will get dirty, and if they get dirty in combat, they will jam, and you'll constantly have to spam R button to unjam the round to continue shooting with a gun. So they really do expand the gameplay a lot. Environment in Metro Exodus, in those mini open worlds, in all 3 of them, environment feels really random. It feels really alive. You really do have a feeling that you are moving through post-apocalyptic world. It looks amazing. You can get jumped attack now, which wasn't really a thing in previous 2 Metro games. So now you can just run around the wasteland, loot for stuff, look for those attachments, and you can run into mutants, of course, and you can sneak by them, or if they attack you, you never know actually what's gonna happen. They can either attack you, or you can sneak by them without being hurt and engaging in combat. So they can jump on you, and then you'll have to smash a button to break free, and it just looks so cinematic. The entire gameplay just in previous 2 games looks so cinematic, and that's one of the main reasons why I love this game so much. HUD is minimized. It really feels like you're playing a movie from first person. It's amazing, just pure awesomeness. Like I can't find words to describe how much I actually love Metro Exodus' gameplay. Also, I love how not just these maps, they just look different, they feel different. Each map brings something with it. For example, at the first map, the Volga, where is like everything flooded and snowy, you get to drive a boat to transport yourself from one side to other, because everything is like flooded, and it's flooded area. And then on the other map, in the desert, you can find a car that you can use to transport yourself around the desert. And it's first time in Metro that you get to have a vehicle, some sort of transport vehicle that you can exit and enter whenever you want and go wherever you want. And it's amazing. It's perfect. I don't know why, but I always love to mention how cool Metro My Menus are. Also in Metro Exodus they found a pretty creative way of making a My Menu. So as you progress through the story and through the chapters, My Menu changes. Artrium's wife Anna will be shown in the My Menu depending on the area where you are. If you are in the desert, if you are in the snow area, she's gonna be dressed differently, and it just looks different when train is moving, and when you look outside the window you can see that environment that you are at right now at the chapter of the game where you are, and it's pretty cool. I love it. It's a creative way of making a My Menu for a game. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention how great soundtracks are. They're just pure masterpiece, just like the game. I mean, all three Metro games have amazing soundtracks, and also Metro Exodus soundtracks just fit perfectly with the things that are going on in the game and what you're seeing on the screen, and the ambience that goes around at some points when you're looting those dark areas and unbounded wasteland. It just feels so fucking good, and it's so depressive, and it's just how it should be. Like, it's apocalypse, there's no more life around, they're like mutants walking around stalking its prey. It's the soundtracks are so depressively beautiful. Like, I love it. I just love it. You can also find safe houses around the wasteland, and when you enter that safe house, there can be, for example, a tape that someone recorded, and you can listen to that tape, figure out what happened in that safe house, and every safe house will have a little workbench where you can place your stuff, and then from that you can craft your materials, you can repair the stuff. Your gas mask can also get broken. Gas mask is used when you get into some radioactive areas that are also random around these three mini maps, little open world maps. So if the zone is radioactive and air is not fresh and clean, you have to wear a gas mask. Also, like in previous two Metro games, your gas mask can get broken, only this time you're not gonna find a new one. You'll have to find materials and resources to repair it, and at one point your gas mask can even have a hole in it, and then you can press G to put a duct tape on it and seal the hole. And when I seen that, I was like, oh, this is awesome. They really stepped it up with the gameplay. That's what I'm saying. That inventory system is probably the main change in the gameplay of Metro Exodus. That inventory system and that mini open worlds that you go around and loot, scavenge, crafting materials, gun attachments, anything you can use can be found around the world, in old houses, in those abandoned vehicles that are completely trashed. So it really does feel like a looter shooter, but linear looter shooter. It's really amazing. Like, it's a game that you can really play and enjoy its environment, its interactivity. There are even parts in the game where you just walk around the train, and as you progress through the game you always bring new characters on that train, that people you found around the world, and at one point you even upgrade the train. You through the story you find wagons that you attach to train, and you can see as the game progresses and as the story in game progresses, the train progresses, everything progresses, and the characters they also progress. They'll also have things to say. So there are parts in the game where it's not an actual gameplay where you walk around the wasteland, complete objectives, but it's just a train that's driving, and you can walk around the train and explore it. You can sit with characters, talk to them, and just by exploring you can have like good hour or two, maybe even 3 hours of good fun just of exploring and listening to other characters' story. Like every character you approach, it's gonna have like at least 20 minutes of things to say to you. You know, each character has like from 10 to 20 minutes of talking, and in my opinion it's very interesting. You can just totally enjoy the story. You can interact with so many things. I remember there is one part where you can just like sit on the table, and you can like turn the light off or on. You can read the book, and in that book you're gonna see like all the weapons and description of those weapons, then mutants you met, then description of these mutants you met. Then you can also turn the radio on. You can find the station and catch the signal of people broadcasting the signal. Someone may be asking for help, and maybe you can find some good song on the radio you can listen to. Also, there is a part where you can even just like get out at the like outside part of the train or something, and you can smoke. You know, you don't have to do that. It's just a little interactive thing you do while you listen to other characters' stories, so you don't just boringly stand in front of them and listen to them. You can do some things like with moving buttons on your keyboard, and it's nicely animated, and it just feels awesome. It's a creative way of listening to other characters' story. It's really interesting to explore the train and see what things you can interact with, and you can really interact with a lot of things. So it's really interesting and really creative. Gameplay is absolutely stunning. Like I said, the most impressive thing to me is that the HUD is minimized. The world is so alive. It's so random. You never know what's gonna happen, and it's like a mini open world that you can just go around, look for materials, craft items you need, collect gadgets and attachments from guns, collect guns, put them on a workbench. You can disassemble the whole gun, put the attachments you want, remove the attachments. You have to clean weapons. If you don't, they get dirty, and then you can't shoot, and you have to really take care of the weapons. So they put a little bit of realism and creativity with each other and combine it with epic story and amazing looking gameplay. And it's just awesome. You have to really try the game out to feel what I'm talking about. This game, its gameplay, it's pure masterpiece. In my opinion, it's the best Metro in the series. Story is maybe not the best, but if we're gonna talk about gameplay, this one is definitely a winner. Metro Exodus is definitely on the top and my number one, and it totally won my heart. Gameplay totally won my heart. I can for sure say that. It is just an amazing game with amazing gameplay, interactive and alive world. It's just really epic. Try it out, you're not gonna regret it. And now for the end, graphics and optimization of Metro Exodus. I'm gonna say right now that Metro Exodus is one big chowder for your GPU. I was running it on RX 560 4GB DDR5, and I was running it on AMD FX 8320 octa-core Black Edition processor, 16GB of RAM, Fury Kingston also Black Edition, and it's all DDR5 as well. Memory and GPU, and I ran this game on ultra settings. After ultra settings there are even extreme settings, but my GPU just couldn't handle that. I would drop immediately below 30 FPS. So my average FPS on all ultra settings, it's not 1080p resolution though, it's a resolution before 1080p. Because that's my monitor resolution. I have a monitor that's old, 8 years, but it's still pretty good, and it's pretty nice to me, and I don't feel like I should change it. but yeah, it's a resolution before 1080p, and I was getting about 30 to 60 FPS, and my average FPS with that resolution on all ultra settings was from 30 to 45, sometimes 50 FPS. But there are also situations where I had a 60 or even more FPS. It really all does depend where you are and what you're doing in game. So as long as you are in those like closed quarters, I would say, inside the buildings, there is no problem. I had on all ultra settings from 50 to 60, sometimes even more FPS, depending by the place where I was. But as soon as I left those buildings and I got into that big open world, my average FPS was from 30 to 45, and there were moments when it was dropping below 30, and that was quite critical. It would drop from like 35, 45 to 20 or 15. Some of those moments were really critical, and in some moments I had to put my graphics settings to lower, disable all the effects, so I could just go through that part of the game, because the FPS was so low I just couldn't move or anything on the screen. So this game is serious for hardware. It does take a good hardware, but like I said, I averagely on all ultra settings, resolution before 1080p, I don't know exactly what it is. But yeah, I had about 30 to 45 FPS. That was my average FPS. But again, depending by situation and part of the game I was at, sometimes there was 50, 60, even more than 60, and those moments were not that rare. There was actually a lot of moments where my FPS would go above 60 even. So this game in general is perfectly optimized. It works perfectly, but it will definitely eat up your hardware, and it takes a lot. It does take a strong PC. I can't deny that. This game is a huge chowder for your hardware, and it's gonna eat it up. If your hardware is not good, you're gonna have a lot of problems with this game. So this game does need good hardware, and I'm okay with the frame rate I was getting. I totally enjoyed the game. Frame rate was enjoyable most of the time, like 45, 30 FPS, not that bad. I can totally handle that, in my opinion. Some other people will maybe disagree, but yeah, in general, optimization of the game is very good. It works smoothly if you have a good hardware and good PC. There were some mini bugs, like lights going through the wall, and some of your characters kinda teleporting, going through the walls, and some of the mutants just also going through the textures. So some of the textures, I guess, are like glitched or something. So there are some mini bugs in this game, but nothing that really critical. In general, I think optimization is very good, very playable and enjoyable game, especially if you have a really good hardware. Mine is not really the best, but like I said, 30 to 45 FPS was average in close quarters, and inside the buildings I had 60 or even more, depending all by the situation. But most of the time, frame rate on my configuration was enjoyable and totally playable. But like I said, again, these were ultra settings. Those are settings before extreme. If I put it on extreme, my PC just can't handle that. It's just no, one big no for my PC. So yeah, guys, in general, I think Metro Exodus is the best Metro game in whole series, especially because of the gameplay. Again, story is not really the best, but it's not bad. It's enjoyable. I enjoyed it for what it was. Graphically, games looks amazing. Environment looks really apocalyptic, and you really does feel like you're in the apocalypse. And it's best looking apocalyptic game in my opinion. It just looks fucking stunning. Optimization is great, but the bad side is that it does really take a good PC, and if you have bad PC, then you might not get that lucky to play this game because it will eat up your hardware, and this game is really hardcore on hardware. So yeah. So yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this game review, go ahead and leave a like, share, comment, or subscribe if you want. If you don't want to, you don't have to, it's totally fine. You can also join my Chris Facebook group, link is down below in the description. I post all kind of stuff over there. Also in the description there is link of my as.fm where you can leave any questions. If you have any questions, I'll answer as soon as I see them. And yeah, guys, thank you for watching this video. I love you, and I'll definitely see you in the next videos. Chris out.